welcome back to the next edition of the Mark You Down for a Cup of Joe podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Joe.
And Joe, we're going to have a pretty good podcast today because it's our time for our weekly Pickems episode. Honestly, I think this episode, the staple of our podcast, has become one of my favorite episodes to do. I feel like you feel at least somewhat similarly about it. So without further ado, let's get into it. And a little disclaimer here. I know this podcast is coming out late. We apologize for that. We had some scheduling conflicts, and we could only do the podcast after Thursday Night Football. So we're just going to jump right into it and get started from there. And Joseph and I had talked before Thursday Night Football, Wednesday actually, and we had our pick for the Thursday night game. Joseph, who did we both pick on Thursday?
You know, we both had the Packers, the team from the land of cheese, but that cheese was sliced today. It was sliced and shredded by that Philadelphia run game.
Yeah, that cheese was sliced and shredded and ready to go on that green. I guess that's a loose connection, that green salad, because the Green Bay Packers, in fact, lost that game at home. We both picked them to win, and that's how you folks at home can know that we're not just cheesing the picks here, that we're actually picking teams we think we're going to win, and we're just both going to take the L here on this one. So not much to say about this game. Picked the Packers at home. Obviously didn't happen. Let's move on to Sunday morning. The first matchup of the day being Tennessee at Atlanta. Joseph,
who
do you
can I make this disclaimer before we even start?
Okay, let's hear it.
I don't even think the viewers know the intense battle that we're in. Both of us deadlocked in our weekly pick'ems at 19 and 14 now. I mean, we're both tied right now.
So we're 19 and 13 because I'm not going to count the Packers loss until next week. It's for week 4, but that doesn't change the fact we are deadlocked with our picks, both going 10 and 6 in week 2, amazingly. And then week 3, both going 9 and 7. Thank you for reminding me about that, Joseph. So we're both 19 and 13, and man, we're getting right into the NFL season. So, this should be really interesting to see who comes out on top, and more so than anything, see how much we both can get right. So you test our football acumen, as one should say. But anyways, let's move on with that. And we have our first game on Sunday morning. We have the Tennessee Titans going to the Dome in Atlanta for them Dirty Birds. Joseph, who do you have winning this matchup?
You know what? These Dirty Birds are about to go take They're gonna go drop something on the Tennessee Titans. They're gonna go drop a W on them.
That's not where I thought you were going with that. I thought you were going with a bird poop joke for a second.
I was gonna say something like that, but I didn't know if that would be appropriate for this kind of show. We may have children listening to this.
I apologize, children, for our very mild E-rated joke. But anyways, you can continue with this one, Joseph.
I don't know about you, Mark. I was riding the Titans. I was on the Titans train for a little bit, for a week or so. But just from what I've seen these past 2 weeks, they have not been able to recap that week 1 offense they had, that 56-point, beatdown of the Cleveland Browns. These past few weeks, they have not been able to really get any rhythm going. Marcus Mariota doesn't look he isn't looking that great. Derrick Henry is he's playing well, but he's not having the big week 1 success every week. And if you look at the Falcons, they actually haven't been playing super bad offensively. Matt Ryan has still been playing really well. Julio Jones is still playing really well. I know the defense hasn't been there, but I think they have the talent on that defense. Even with the loss of Keanu Neal, I still think they have the talent on that defense to go and really make this Titans offense work. So for that, I'm going with them Dirty Birds.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm going to go with the Dirty Birds for a clean win here on. I am thinking that those Dirty Birds think they're Super Bowl contenders. They're sitting at 1-2 right now. I don't think there's a better opportunity for this Atlanta Falcons team to really get I'm not going to say an easy win, but not go up against a crazy, insane opponent and to get some confidence here. I expect the Atlanta to come out firing on offense, especially. Matt Ryan always plays better in a dome and at home. So I'm taking those two things, and I don't trust Marcus Mariota in this one. So give me the Falcons in this one.
And I think another thing we have to mention is that the Falcons have something to play for now. With Drew Brees being injured, this NFC South is really up for grabs right now. This was the Saints coming into the season. I think this was going to be the Saints division to take, but Drew Brees isn't out there playing right now, so NFC South could be spicy, especially if the Falcons come out with a win this week.
Yes, the NFC South could be spicy. That is a great point, something I hadn't thought about. Yeah, I mean, they have to be extra motivated. And I know the Saints played really, really well in their matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. It ended up beating them. But, this is definitely a wide open division. Drew Brees is going to miss somewhere, 6 to 8, 9 weeks. And, if the Falcons play well, maybe Drew Brees is back, maybe he isn't. But they're going to match up with the Saints in Week 10. So a win here to get their records a little bit closer is going to be ideal for this Falcons team. But we're both in agreement there. Not going to spend too much more time on that one. So let us move on to our next matchup, which entails the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to start us off with this one. I like Buffalo a lot. They're going to be at home. Josh Allen's been making a few special plays every week, and the defense has really been locking people down. But I'm going to take the New England Patriots on the road because of the consistency of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I do think this is going to be a very tough matchup for Tom Brady because of the man coverage and the pass rush and just kind of the tight defense that this New England team plays. But ultimately, I have them winning on the road here. And what say you in this one, Joseph?
Well, I say that we're going to have some buffalo hunting going on this Sunday. We're going to have those Patriots coming in there. And, I think you said it best, Mark. I think this is going to be a challenge. I think Tom Brady's going to be tested a little bit this game, more so than he has these first few weeks. But I'm not concerned about that. Tom Brady is one of the all-time greats, if not the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. And I think he's going to go in there and take care of Buffalo. I think they're going to go in there. I don't know if it'll be a necessarily walk, one of those, cakewalk type of games, but I think they're going to come away with the victory.
Yeah, and this is one of those games, Joseph, where I think New England could come out, and this could be, a 21-24 type of game,
Yeah.
Like a 4-point New England win or maybe even a field goal, because I just think that highly of Sean McDermott right now. He's coaching his butt off on that defense, and that defense has come to play. So, yeah, we're both in agreement there. Anything else you want to say about that matchup before we move on?
No, I think I'm all good with that. Let's move on.
Okay, perfect. So the next matchup we have, I think, is a really sneaky good matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs in Detroit taking on them Lions. So Joseph, who do you have in this this battle? The hunter or the animal in this one?
I think in most cases you gotta take the hunter, especially when your hunter is named Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. They have just looked so explosive on offense this year. And they just have guys stepping up left and right, making plays for them. Even without Tyreek Hill, they still have a couple of other guys who are getting open downfield. And it looks like Patrick Mahomes is playing like an MVP again. I think he very well could end up winning the MVP again this year if he keeps up what he's doing. And Detroit right now, I haven't been super impressed with what they've done so far. Yes, they are 2-0 with that tie against Arizona, but they just haven't really done anything to excite me or to show me that they can go in and stop Patrick Mahomes in this explosive Chiefs offense. So for that, I'm going to be taking the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we are going to have, maybe a couple of Lions getting tomahawked this week.
I'm going to go with you on this one. I think the Kansas City Chiefs win this one. But in addition to a couple Lions getting tomahawked, I think we have some Chiefs over here getting pounced on by some Lions. They might sneak up on them here a little bit, because I think this Detroit Lions team is a lot better than people give them credit for. Yes, I know they had that tie with Arizona, but they've had two pretty good wins where their defense has stepped up, and Matt Stafford has looked pretty good. And this game, I think, is very similar to the New England game we were just talking about, where I don't think Detroit's going to make it easy on Kansas City. I think they're going to make them work a little bit more. And even though Kansas City might put up 30, I don't see them running away with this one. I think the Lions will keep this close because of Matt Stafford, his veteran leadership, that defense, and finding creative ways to use Kerryon Johnson in the run and pass game to hold the. Yes, some Lions are going to get tomahawked, but also some Chiefs are going to get pounced. So give me Kansas City in a close one in Detroit. Anything else you want to say about this matchup?
Other than the fact that this game has just turned into a bloodfest. I mean, people are going to be getting tomahawked and pounced on. I mean,
do you think
we're going to have quite the headlines this week in football?
this would be? You think this would be grounds for a refund? After potentially going to a Gladiator Stadium on Sunday.
This may. I think this could turn into some sort of crazy revolution for the NFL, where people leave this game wanting more blood, wanting more gladiator type of thing. So, I mean, this could take a really bloody turn for the NFL. So, this is definitely a game in the storyline to watch for.
Well, everyone, watch for that, and if anything happens, definitely let the NFL know. I'm pretty sure they're going to have their eyes on this one anyways. But let's move on to the next matchup. Joseph, we got my Oakland Raiders going to Lucas Oil Stadium to take on the Colts.
I know I have been subject these past few weeks for getting excited about the Raiders, and I know some of you may be expecting me to give you a deafening Raiders shout right now, but unfortunately, I am going to be picking against them Raiders this week, and I'm going to be going with the Indianapolis Colts. And I don't know about you, Mark, but the Colts have impressed me this year. I've really liked what I've seen from Jacoby Brissett, and just from the Colts as a team. I don't know if they necessarily have all that star talent that we see on some of these other teams, but I think just overall they play really, really good team football. They work together as one big unit. And it's shown these first few weeks they've played really, really well. Jacoby Brissett, I think, has shown that he can be that he can hold his own in the NFL as a starting quarterback. And I just haven't really been impressed from what I've seen with the Raiders these past few weeks. Derek Carr got me really excited in week 1, but I haven't seen anything like that in these past few weeks against the Chiefs, against the Vikings. Some of his receivers have been quiet. The defense hasn't looked, it's shown some flaws and stuff. And I just don't think they're gonna be able to keep up with this Colts team this week. So I have the Colts running away, stampeding away with this game.
I wish I could say I disagree with you, but unfortunately I can't. I got Indianapolis at home. A lot of the reasons you said, but really the biggest one I'm going to defer to in this is, I think Derek Carr is the greatest illusionist since Harry Houdini. This man had us all believing in week 1 that he was going to take that step and, have some shades of his 2016 and really just bring himself back to the forefront of the NFL. But in the past couple of weeks, he has been nothing but pedestrian and even below average at times. I think the buck stops with him here. I know John Gruden's play calling isn't always the greatest, but you can only blame play calling so much when your quarterback is not looking aggressive anymore. He continually is checking the ball down, not looking to make plays down the field, and I think that's really been the difference with this team. Derek Carr not able to move the ball when he needs to has really exposed his defense. I know they're not a great defense, but they're not the worst. But being on the field the whole game is not going to help him, and I think Jacoby Brissett is going to keep his offense on the field long enough, I don't think Derek Carr is going to move the ball. So, yeah, give me the Colts in probably a blowout victory, I'm going to say. As sad as it is to say, I'm kind of done picking the Raiders for now until they show me something. I don't want to pick up another loss because I'm picking the Raiders in this pick'em episode. So, both you and me with the Indianapolis Colts. But, yeah, very interesting. Did you think I was going to go Raiders there? That's the real question.
I was curious based on some of our private conversations if you would still be picking them Raiders, if you would still be counting on them to just win. But
yeah,
I agree with what you've said. So
yeah, absolutely. No, sorry to interrupt you. But one side note about this Raiders team, if they lose this game to the Indianapolis Colts, I think you could have a serious case of suck in for Justin or screw up for Tua on your hands with this Oakland Raiders team going into Las Vegas. Derek Carr will not be the quarterback going forward if he continues to play like the way he has the past few weeks. So that's the other side note I'm going to put there. But anyways, let's move on. Sorry.
You mentioned someone, you mentioned the team, the Raiders screwing up for Tua or going just in for Justin. I'm sorry if I butchered your little pun there.
It's stuck in for Justin.
Stuck in for Justin, excuse me. But right now we're going to talk about, the forefront, the headline team for suck in for Justin or, screw up for Tua, the Miami Dolphins. What was that?
I think the second one applies to this team a lot more than the first.
Would you like to name that team for us, Mark? This is the
Miami Dolphins. Screw up for Tua. It's all about Tua for them. So, and it's going to continue this week, Joseph, with the LA Chargers going on the road walloping those Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins haven't been able to stop anyone. I'm pretty convinced that if you and I were out there throwing passes to the water boy right now, we'd be able to put up 28 points. And that's going to continue with Keenan Allen, Travis Benjamin, and Phillip Rivers. I think they're going to have a field day on the secondary, and Miami definitely can't keep up on offense. Give me them Chargers and a blowout.
Yeah, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I simply think that this Chargers team is just much, 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 much more talented than the Dolphins. The Dolphins have just looked like absolute. They've looked like a tank this season more so than a Dolphin. So, give me
we
the
got
Chargers.
a Panzer on the field, and one Panzer, it can't do anything if they're not going to get that spark, that charge, So, yep, that's what's going to happen here this week. But anyways. Let's move on. I think this next game is going to be very, very interesting, Joseph. We've got the Washington Redskins at those New York Football Giants. Very interesting matchup between potentially Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones. We shall see. But anyways, Joseph, who do you have winning in this game?
I'm going to be taking the New York Giants in this game. I was really impressed with what I saw in Daniel Jones last week, having the comeback victory, 4 total touchdowns. I know the Giants don't have Saquon Barkley, but Daniel Jones impressed me that much to where I think he can come in at home against a weaker Washington Redskins team, and I think he'll be able to. I think he'll be able to do enough to beat the Redskins this week. I think they're going to ride that momentum, and I have the Giants winning this game.
Yeah, I'm jumping on that Daniel Jones hype train, baby. I'm rolling with them New York Giants. Daniel Jones really impressed me with his play. More so to do, his touchdowns, obviously, but he played really well against a pretty talented Tampa defense, in my opinion. Was able to score points without Saquon Barkley. That was the other thing. That's going to continue. I don't see Washington keeping up with them points. Give me the Giants at home in a big victory, I think. I don't think this one's going to be that close. We'll see what happens if Dwayne Haskins plays. Maybe that can keep it a little bit closer than Case Keenum after his off that game.
I did just read a report earlier where Coach Gruden has announced that Dwayne Haskins will not be starting this game. He's still going to roll with Case Keenum.
Okay,
even after that.
But what if he goes in and he turns the ball over a couple times in the first half? Do you think we could be on some Haskins watch?
I think we ought to be on some Haskins watch right now. If Keenum isn't getting the job done, I know he certainly didn't get the job done against the Bears this last week. I think we could see their rookie quarterback getting some action just to give them some sort of spark, give them some sort of hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this could be a good opportunity.
Yeah, against I was just going to say, I think this could be, like you were saying, this could be a good opportunity for him going up against one of the, going up against the Giants defense, which I'm not going to say is one of the more intimidating defenses in the NFL. So this could be a good way for Dwayne Haskins to get his first NFL action in the regular season.
Awesome. And the Giants are going to squash some teepees this week. So let's move on to our next matchup. Joseph, who do we got?
We got the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Cleveland Browns. And Mark, I'm going to go ahead and start us off with this one. I'm going to be taking the Baltimore Ravens at home against their division rival, the Cleveland Browns. I think we've talked about how both of us have been really impressed with the Ravens with Lamar Jackson and what we've seen from the Ravens as a whole this year, especially on offense. I know last week they did lose to Kansas City, but they still scored 28 points against them. So they were still doing things right on offense. And this Cleveland Browns team just looks to be in a mess right now. That offense is just not clicking on any sort of cylinder. Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't been getting featured as much as I thought he would. Him and Baker Mayfield don't look to be on the same page. Him and his other receivers, him and Jarvis Landry, they're not on the same page, and they're really struggling to move the ball. I read an interesting stat where this past week, Daniel Jones, with his 4 touchdowns, has more or the same amount of total touchdowns as Baker Mayfield this entire year. So this is a Browns team that is really struggling to move the ball offensively, and I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up to Lamar Jackson and that explosive offense they have.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I do not think the Dogs are going to be able to catch the Ravens today on their perch. Give me Baltimore. I see this one being somewhat close, but maybe a 10-point Baltimore victory. And to me, Baker Mayfield just has completely regressed. He has all the talent that you would want. I mean, I know he's only 6'1", not super tall, but he's got the arm. He's an extremely accurate passer, smart guy. But I think some of his insecurities are showing a little bit with regards to him responding to Rex Ryan and taking a shot at him. And I think Baker might be a little bit more worried about the outside noise right now, as opposed to maybe what he can do to improve. And I think it's showing on the football field. He hasn't looked good. He looks like he's in a sophomore slump, and Baker is looking like he might not be the first round pick that the number 1 overall pick that the Browns wanted. So give me Baltimore in a comfortable win at home.
Cleveland, the city where quarterbacks die.
Even before they even get their opportunity, really. So
I'm gonna make a point here, Mark. I don't think me and you have picked against each other yet. We've been on the same page for every single one of these picks.
And we are halfway through. Holy snot. Okay, let me look at this. I think, we have not picked against each other. All right, let's go with our next matchup. We got Carolina at Houston.
And knowing you, Mark, I think me and you are going to be on the same page again, because if I had to guess, you're going to be taking the Houston Texans.
I am taking those Texans with Deshaun Watson, absolutely.
Oh. Would you like to explain why, Mark? Why are you picking the Houston Texans?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the man I just mentioned, Deshaun Watson. I don't think the Houston Texans are that good of a team. I may have overrated them a little bit. They've got some weapons. The defense is okay. It's not what it used to be, but this man, Deshaun Watson, is literally I don't know. He's like Iron Man out there right now. He's taking a bunch of hits. He's throwing the ball down the field, and I dare say he's single-handedly winning them a bunch of games, even without a real strong or consistent running game and not really crazy weapons or the best defense. Carolina, I think, is an inferior team to Houston. I liked what I saw out of Kyle Allen, but he is a rookie. Let's see if he can do that again. But they're not going to make it easy on him, and Deshaun Watson is going to put up enough points at home to lead those Texans to a nice fur coat, nice black polish on that coat with the Carolina Panthers. So, Joseph, why do you think that the Houston Texans are going to win this matchup?
You said it right there. It just goes down to the man playing quarterback for him. I think Deshaun Watson is just better than Kyle Allen, and the Texans have a man named J.J. Watt rushing the passer every play. And if J.J. gets going in this game, I think we're going to really see him disrupt that Panthers offense. He's going to get in the head of Kyle Allen. He's going to get in the head of just that. I think he can disrupt that whole offense, just him single-handedly. I think he's that good. And Deshaun Watson is playing really, really good football right now. So I have them winning at home against the Carolina Panthers. They'll walk away in a royal black coat, like you said.
Okay, just kind of a side note. I know this doesn't necessarily have to do anything with the Pickems, but as you previously mentioned, you said that Patrick Mahomes might be the MVP this year. Do you think there's a case for Deshaun Watson right now to be the MVP, seeing like the talent around him and what he's been able to do to carry them, lift them to win games?
I think you can make a case for him, but I know we're going to talk about this game a little bit later, but there's another man who I think is actually going to have more of a shot at the MVP, and his name is Dak Prescott.
Ooh, let's save that one. Maybe let's move on to the next one to get to that spicy little take. We've got Tampa Bay at LA. We got them Pirates trying to shear some sheep with the Rams. Joseph, who do you have in this matchup?
The Buccaneers may try and I can't think of a little pun there, so I'm just going to dive right into my pick. I think the LA Rams are going to come away with this. Jared Goff and the Rams play really, really good football at home, and Aaron Donald and that defense have just been disrupting teams all year long. I know they did go up against a wounded and struggling Browns offensive line this past week, but it seemed like they were in the backfield every single play. So I think this defense is going to go in there, wreak havoc for them. I haven't liked what I've seen with the Rams offensively, but I can't pick against that defense, especially against the struggling Bucs offense and with Jameis Winston throwing the football. So I have the Rams winning at home.
Yeah, I have the Rams winning at home because okay, you kind of touched on it. I'm not a big fan of that offense, but I would say that team is just overall a better team than the Bucs, and I expect Aaron Donald to be in Jameis Winston's face all game. And if you think Jameis Winston makes bad decisions when he has a clean pocket, just wait till you see Aaron Donald bearing down on him. So that defense is going to force, I think, a couple turnovers, have a bunch of key sacks, and yeah, give me the LA Rams. I think they're gonna, they're gonna take they're gonna get the bull with the horns on this one, for lack of a better pun, and take this one in LA. But yeah, let's move on, Joseph. We got the Seattle Seahawks
battle right here. We got a little bit of
an aerial battle.
Yeah,
and
we got the two birds going at each other.
Well, the bird watching. That's what it was.
Yeah, bird watching.
So another bird watch. And what's interesting is we're going to have, at least we know, every year we're going to have at least two bird watching battles in the NFC West because of the Cardinals and the Seahawks. So Seattle and Arizona, who do you have, Joseph?
I am going to be taking the Seahawks in this game. I have really, really liked what I have seen in Russell Wilson this year. I don't know about you, Mark, but it just seems to me that he's just kind of taken another step this year. I don't know why. He just seems to be playing really, really good football right now. That defense is playing good football with Jadeveon Clowney. They have some weapons out there. Tyler Lockett had a big game this past week, and they're going up against a struggling Arizona Cardinals team right now with a rookie quarterback back there who has shown that he can make some plays, but I don't think he's shown he can do it consistently. So I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to come in, take care of business, and walk away with the victory.
Yeah, I have Seattle going in Arizona, flying away with this victory. Because of that man you said, number 3, Russell Wilson. Really impressed me during the Saints game. It was, I would say he was a little disappointing that he wasn't able to make enough plays earlier on to keep the game closer, but was able to rally, get this game really close. And this is why I think Russell Wilson, along with Deshaun Watson, are probably 2 of the most underrated quarterbacks in football. I think Russell Wilson is that good, a top 5 quarterback, no doubt in my mind. And Russell Wilson's going to show Kyler Murray quarterback his way. So, Kyler Murray can aspire, and the Seahawks can win this one.
Mark, I would just like to point out again that me and you have still yet to differ on our Pickems.
Well, I think this one could change in the very next matchup. So, I have them Minnesota Skull Vikings going into Chicago to take on the Grizzly Bears or the Bears or the Black Bears, whatever bear you wanna say. But nevertheless, you could even say polar bear because of how cold it is. But Joseph, who do you have winning in this battle of Vikings trying to get their fur coats?
I wish there was a way that both of these teams could lose, but unfortunately one of them has to come through victorious. And I just cannot in good conscience pick against the Minnesota Vikings. I cannot pick the Bears, and I just cannot pick the Bears. Part of that due to my Packers fandom, and part of that's just because I have not been impressed with this Bears team at all this year. The defense has looked good. I will give them that. But that offense has really, really struggled all year to get the ball moving. And we've talked about Mitchell Trubisky a whole lot. And he just looks a little bit lost out there. He's really struggling to spark this offense, to get them rolling. Last week I know they picked it up a little bit against the Redskins, but that was a weaker defense. That wasn't one of the better teams in the NFL. It's nothing like the defense he's going to see in Minnesota. Dalvin Cook's hot. I think they're going to let him just run wild against this Bears defense, and I think they're going to go in and take care of business against the Bears.
Okay. Joseph, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And audience, you can do this little thought experiment with me as well. I want you to close your eyes. It's 1st and 10. Kirk Cousins has the ball on his own 25-yard line. Steps back, hands it off to Dalvin Cook. Yeah, maybe a yard. Akeem Hicks stuffs that play. 2nd and 10. Maybe let's mix it up. They call a pass play. Slant, Stephon Diggs, 2 yards, stop by Roquan Smith. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it is 3rd and 7. And Kirk Cousins has to throw to get this first down. He drops back, but the monster of the Midway himself, Khalil Mack, comes screeching around the corner and nails Kirk Cousins. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how I think this game is going to go. I have the Chicago Bears winning this one at home in Soldier Field. You and me both don't like Mitchell Trubisky, but I do like this matchup for the Bears. I like this front 7. I think they're going to shut down Dalvin Cook, handle him pretty well, and make Kirk Cousins beat him. And as we know, Kirk Cousins has not been good in big games or important matchups against divisional opponents. So I'm going to take, the Bears defense. I think they're really going to make a statement here against those Minnesota Vikings. So, Joseph, if like you have been harping on, we have been picking the same teams over and over again, but this is our first difference. How does it feel? What do you think about that, being 3/4 of the way through the schedule and finally having a difference of opinion here?
This is going to set up for a really interesting week of Pickems and just our intense battle to see who will emerge victorious this season. So, this whole week could ride on this game to see who wins between me and you. So, this is an interesting. This could get spicy.
I think this could get very spicy, but you know what's going to end up happening is, we're going to pick a couple opposite teams and we're going to go 1-1, and then we're just right back to where we started, deadlocked with the same record. So, but anyways, let's move on to the next matchup. Joseph, who do we got playing?
We got the Jacksonville Jaguars going up to the Mile High Stadium and taking on them Broncos. And I don't know about you, Mark, but if I were to have a choice in a fight between a Jaguar and a Bronco, I would probably take the Jaguar to win that. And I'm going to be taking the Jaguars to win this battle this week against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, I will admit, they have shown flashes on offense. They have been able to move the ball. They haven't been able to finish, though, and I think that's an issue. And the pass rush has just not been there this year, led by Von Miller. And I think that's a big concern if you're a Denver Broncos fan, or if you're the Denver Broncos in general, that you have arguably the best pass rush combination in football, and they have, I think, a combined total. I think the whole team as a total has only 2 sacks through these first few weeks. I may not have my numbers right there, but they have not been able to put any pressure on the quarterback. And you have a really, I won't say great team, but you have a solid team in the Jacksonville Jaguars, being led by Gardner Minshew, the rookie quarterback who has taken the NFL by storm, who has taken social media by storm with his Uncle Rico-like appearance and his just savagery growing up as a child. And he has actually been playing really, really good football. I've really liked what I've seen from him and some of these young Jaguars playmakers, and I have them winning against the Denver Broncos this week. I just like the Jaguars better than the Broncos this week.
Okay. Well, Joseph, I'm going to ask you a little trivia question right here.
Okay.
And it's very pop culture, very relevant about this game, in fact. Joseph, How many sacks does Von Miller and Bradley Chubb have combined this season?
Last I checked, I'm going to say about 2.
Joseph, that would be incorrect, because Von Miller and Bradley Chubb have as many sacks this season as the Miami Dolphins have wins this season. They have no sacks. They have not been able to hit home to the quarterback. It has been a disaster. Their defensive line has not played well. It's been pushed around, and I look at this to be less of a Gardner Minshew game and more of a Leonard Fournette game. I think this is where this guy gets going. I think they're going to be able to push Denver around, be physical. Fournette's going to come out, announce his presence to the NFL this season, and I think they're going to kick the Broncos in the teeth. I just don't see how the Broncos are going to win this game. Don't trust Joe Flacco in that offense. Give me Gardner Minshew and the Jags, with Leonard Fournette leading the way, even amidst all this Jalen Ramsey talk. So we're both in agreement there. Even though they're on the road, I could see this being a 10-point win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What about you, Joseph?
I think this could be a very, very close game. I think Gardner Minshew is good. I think he's shown that he can play in the NFL, but I don't know if I'm quite ready to say that he's a superstar, that he's going to, drop, 500 yards and 6 touchdowns on this Broncos defense. I'm not there just yet. This will be a close game.
Okay, perfect. Well, at least we agree with the victor of that game. But anyways, let's move on to Sunday Night Football. A little good old Sunday night. And seemingly, every week we have the Dallas Cowboys on some primetime game. And this is the case here. The Dallas Cowboys in primetime going to the Bayou, taking on them Saints led by Teddy Bridgewater. Joseph, who do you have in this, I think, very exciting matchup in Sunday Night Football?
Yes, I think this will be a very exciting matchup, like you mentioned. Even though the Saints don't have Drew Brees, they still played They still played really well last week against the Seahawks. Teddy Bridgewater showed that he can hold down the fort. Alvin Kamara had an explosive game, and the Saints offense looked really, they looked just fine even without their franchise quarterback. But I have been impressed with Dak Prescott this year. I don't know about you, Mark, but he looks like a completely different quarterback. I know for the first few years of his career, he seemed to be just relying off of Ezekiel Elliott, just handing the ball off, and then maybe dumping the ball off for a quick first down. That seemed to be the story of Dak Prescott. But this year, he seems to have stepped up, and it seems like he's really leading that offense for once instead of Ezekiel Elliott. And he has been playing really, really good football these past few weeks. And we alluded to it earlier, but I think he could be one of our MVP candidates towards the end of this year. I know he's sitting somewhere around, I think he's thrown 10 touchdowns, 2 picks. He is throwing the ball very, very accurately. I think he's up right around 70%, if not higher, for his completion percentage, high QBR. He looks like a top 5 NFL quarterback this year. And because of that, I think he's going to go in there and lead this team to victory against a hurting Saints team.
Yeah, I do think the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this football game as well. Mostly because of number 4, like you said. And number 4 looks like a completely transformed quarterback. I agree with you. He is a top 5 quarterback. He is, at least this year, he is putting that team on his back. And that Dallas defense is no joke. I mean, I very well may pick this Dallas Cowboys team in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl. That's how highly I think of them. I think it'll be on full display Sunday night, though I think it's going to be a very good game. Give me Dak Prescott leading a game-winning touchdown, in the fourth quarter to seal this one down in New Orleans. So, anything else you want to say about this game?
No, I think we covered most of it.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to move on to our last game of the week, Monday Night Football. Those Cincinnati Bengals.
Our weekly battle of Pickems is, we're about to see right now if this is just going to come down to one game, or if there's a chance for us to, to maybe split these games. Maybe still have a chance of going, breaking a tie here.
Man, well, we shall see. It shall be interesting.
Would you like to start us off, Mark?
I will. The Cincinnati Bengals. Been an interesting team. They haven't been as bad as 0-3 would indicate. Andy Dalton's playing some of the best football of his career. John Ross seems to be a legitimate weapon. I know last week he didn't have a great game, but seems to be that weapon. Joe Mixon is a stud. The defense isn't great, but they're a pretty good team, Cincinnati. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that we have been very down on this year, very critical of. I mean, they were our dumpster fire of the week last week. For all those who haven't listened to that episode, go check it out. We talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this seems to be a storm brewing for them Cincinnati Bengals to get their first win. But I will say I was very impressed with the Pittsburgh Steelers last week in San Francisco. Their defense looked dominant. Their offense looked pretty good with Mason Rudolph. They barely escaped that game with a loss. I'm taking those Pittsburgh Steelers at home on Monday Night Football, Joseph.
Well, me and you are going to differ for only the second time today, Mark. I have the Cincinnati Bengals going in there and, doing some steel work here. You mentioned that Andy Dalton is playing some of the best football of his career, and he has a few weapons on offense right now, and Joe Mixon and John Ross. Joe Mixon this past week he got going a little bit. I know he's been a little banged up, so I think he'll be good to go this week. I think he'll be well rested. He'll be fully healthy. I think they're going to want to incorporate him a whole lot this week. And I think this is a team that really has something to play for right now. I think this is what we're going to see maybe where the Bengals are trying to take their organization. If they come in and kind of let themselves get walked down, then I think we may have another team trying to roll out a tank this year. But against this division team, I think they're going to come in here and really give this Steelers team a run for their money. And you mentioned it, and I think we've talked about this enough. I'm not sold on. I'm not a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. I don't think they're going to be a very good football team, and they've shown that they aren't a very good football team this year. So, give me them Bengals.
Joseph, are you going to say that Cincinnati is going to go and steal a game from the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I will say that they're going to go steal a game from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you for that pun.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I'm picking the Steelers. I'm rooting for the Bengals in this one. I think Oakland is in a prime position to tank, suck in for Justin or screw up for Tua. And I am worried about this Bengals team because I think Miami Dolphins are going to take Tua with the number 1 overall pick. And the second quarterback's coming off the board at the number 2 pick. I'm really rooting for those Raiders to get that. So come on, Cincinnati. Let's win this game for me. But it'd be bittersweet indeed because that would end up giving you a win here. But anyways, we're about to sign off. But let's have a quick recap of our picks. So I'll go first. For this week, I've got Green Bay, I've got Atlanta, New England, Kansas City, Indianapolis, the Chargers, the Giants, the Ravens, the Texans, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Bears, the Jaguars, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. Joseph, who do you have?
If it's okay, Mark, I'm just going to go and point out the differences in our picks. Since there's
spicy.
I have everybody that you said, except in except I believe the one difference was the Minnesota Vikings at Chicago Bears. I have Minnesota winning that game. And then what we just talked about, this Monday night game, I have the Cincinnati Bengals.
An important thing to note, I have the 2 home teams in there, and you do have the 2 road teams. So I think that's a little bit of an interesting trend.
That's an interesting take. We'll see if this home field advantage gives you any advantage in our weekly matchup.
All right, perfect. Well, that's going to do it today for our Week 4 NFL Pickems episode, probably our favorite episode to do. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on our Facebook page, the Mark You Down for Cup of Joe podcast, both on YouTube and Facebook. But this has been Mark.
And Joe.
And we are signing off. You guys have a great weekend and enjoy some football.